Your Honor, my client does not want a divorce and is asking the court to schedule a consultation. She believes that her marriage is strong enough to overcome this incident with a little help. Her lawyer said this. She, my future ex-wife, Julie. My lawyer stood up. Your Honor, a 12-month affair with several men that resulted in the birth of a child is hardly an incident, especially when DNA proves that the child is not my client's. We believe that there is no benefit in prolonging this marriage. Consultations won't change anything. It is because of the child that I am inclined to order a consultation, the judge said. A child needs a stable home to grow. If you think that I will raise the offspring of this traitor, I said loudly. My lawyer winced. The judge hit his gavel hard. One more word and I'll hold you in contempt of court, he shouted at me. I schedule 1 month of consultations, 2 sessions per week. You will be visiting Mr. Stedman, or else. He looked at me intently for a moment, then hit me with the hammer again. This is all. Julie, my ex-wife, looked smug as I walked into the consultant's office. I'm Dr. Sullivan, but you can call me Gerald. Can I call you Brian? He smiled at me. No, you cannot. You can address me as Mr. Stedman. Brian, there's no need for that, Julie began. You don't have to contact me at all, I snapped at her. I think we need to calm down, Dr. Sullivan said. Please, Mr. Stedman, have a seat. He pointed to one of the chairs standing side by side in front of his desk. I moved my chair a good 1.5 feet away from the chair Julie was sitting in and plopped down in it. Gerald sighed. Okay, he began. I heard nothing else as I pulled out a set of wireless headphones, put them in my ears, and started listening to music from my phone. Gerald looked at me silently and then began to talk to Julie. I couldn't hear what he was saying, and I just kept playing with my phone while listening to music. About 15 minutes later, I saw Julie stand up. She looked at me and stomped out of his office. I took out my headphones. Okay, doctor, good session. See you on Thursday? I canceled the sessions and sent my report to the judge. Better. I left the office. The judge was unhappy. Give me one reason why I shouldn't consider your client disrespectful, he growled at my lawyer. Your Honor, you ordered my client to attend meetings. He attended the first session as ordered. The remaining sessions were canceled by the consultant. The consultant's report clearly states that he made no attempt to participate in the session. He put on headphones and ignored them the entire time, the judge responded. The order was for him to be present, my lawyer replied. He was present. Given that the consultant believes that there will be no benefit from continuing, I would like to request that you grant the divorce as petitioned. Not in your life, said the judge. I schedule 4 weeks of consultations. Mr. Stedman will attend them and become involved. When I arrived, the office was equipped in exactly the same style as before. 2 chairs, 1/2 meter apart, stood opposite the doctor's desk. He sat behind him. There was nothing on the table except a yellow notepad and a photograph of a pretty woman, who I guessed was about 30 years old, and a child who looked to be about 6 years old. Mr. Stedman, said the doctor, please sit down. I started moving the chair again. Julie held out her hand to stop me, and I jumped back. I notify you both that any physical contact will be considered an attack on my person, and appropriate force will be used in response, I said. Julie gasped, stepping back. I pulled the chair back and sat down in it. He took out his phone again. Mr. Stedman, the judge has ordered that you participate in the hearing. I know, I said. I use my phone to record the session to prove my participation. My lawyer says some consultants are known to have their own agendas. Since my soon-to-be ex-wife has been dating you for quite some time, I feel like you already have a relationship with her that could work against me. What if I don't want you to record the sessions? Asked the doctor. Then I'll go back to court and ask for another consultant, I replied. I have such an opportunity. The only reason I didn't do this is because it would cause even more delays. Julie, how do you feel about the sessions being recorded? He looked at her. It doesn't matter, she said, waving her hand. Can we just get started? Okay, said Gerald. What would I like to do first? Before we start, I interrupted him. Can I ask a question? Of course, he said. You can ask questions at any time. I may ask you to hold off on asking questions at certain points in the process, but ask now." He smiled at me encouragingly. "Have you already had sex with her?" Julie sighed, but Gerald didn't seem to mind. "No. Julie and I have not had and will not have any sexual contact," he said softly. "It would be inappropriate even if I were not already very happily married." "Is this the answer to your question?" I nodded. I believed him. Although he was supposed to be one of the few men Julie had dated but not had sex with over the past year. Fine. Then, as I said, first I would like to set our expectations. Since I have already spoken with Julie several times, I would like her to share what she wants to achieve from these sessions and what her desired results are. I would ask you, while she is speaking, to refrain from commenting or asking questions until the very end. After Julie tells us what she hopes to achieve, I'll ask you to do the same. I refrained from commenting. I didn't look at Julie when she started talking. "First of all, Brian," she began. "Don't talk to me," I growled. "Talk to me, Julie," Gerald said. "Tell me what you would like Mr. Stedman to hear. I want him to hear how sorry I am that I hurt him. I know what I did was wrong. He just spent so much time at work and on business trips that I was lonely. I understand how much I hurt him, and if I could go back and change the past, I would give anything to do it. I love him more than anything in the world. I know we can get through this if he just gives me a chance. I will show him that I can be the best wife a man could ask for. We could raise our child together and give him a wonderful life, maybe even a brother or sister. I want us to be together, and I know that we can do this. We can get through this, I know." Gerald smiled at Julie. "Okay, thanks, Julie. Now, Mr. Stedman, what would you like to say?" I looked at him. "I would like to see this crooked person contract a rare and incurable sexually transmitted disease and die a slow and painful death," I said. Julie burst into tears and ran out of the room. "It was no use," said Gerald, "but I don't want to be useful. This bitch played tricks with half the men in the city for a year, got pregnant, and tried to pass off the child as mine. If I hadn't suspected something was wrong and demanded a DNA test, now I would even be forced to pay child support for the child of some other brat. Tell me, Doc, how exactly should I behave?" "It's natural to be angry, but you have to look through the lens of anger at what you had," he replied. "Do you even know what you're talking about?" I snapped. "Have you ever had the love of your life, the person you trusted with your heart and soul, and who you were literally willing to die to protect, screw you up so badly that you questioned your own sanity? When I found out what was happening, I wanted to die. I seriously considered committing suicide. How can someone who confesses their love for another cause them such pain that it drives them to suicide? Also, did you notice that she never said that she regretted what she did? Not for having sex with all these men, not for lying over and over again, not for getting pregnant, and not even being able to guess who the child's father is? The only thing she is sure of is that this is not the person who was supposed to give her a child. So, since you have no understanding of what it's like to be in my position, don't sit here with your sanctimonious smile and bookish education and tell me that I should turn a blind eye to my anger. Right now, my anger is all I have. Just let me kick this cheater out of my life and try to regain some of the pieces she left me." "Does this count as participation?" I snapped, leaving his office. Arriving home, I decided to prepare a little for the next session. Perhaps I would be able to prove my point. "I asked Julie to let us do this session without her," Gerald said when I walked into his office the following week. "It seems to me that, to begin with, we can achieve more in a face-to-face mode. If it still counts toward court-ordered counseling, I'm more than happy not to be in the same room as her." I sat down, placing the A4 envelope I had brought on my lap. "Can we try to refrain from name-calling? Please, this is not constructive and only gets in the way. I don't want to be constructive. I just want to go through these sessions and get this woman out of my life forever. I didn't want these sessions at all. She just intends to cause me as much pain as she can. She doesn't want a divorce because the prenuptial agreement leaves her with nothing, so she's trying to force me to take her back. It will not happen. What about the child? He is not guilty. Of course, he can't be punished for... He is not my problem and not my concern. According to you, I should take in every tramp who could not stand on her feet and became pregnant. Those children have nothing to do with me, just like this one. Why are you so sure that there is only an outcome from this? You obviously loved her very much. All these feelings do not go away overnight. Your anger is masking it now. But once it subsides, and trust me, it will, you will find that there are still feelings that you can cultivate, feelings that you can use to repair your relationship, and even make them stronger. The smile returned again. I wanted to hit him. It's time to give him a taste of his own medicine. I pointed to the photo on his desk. Do you have a good family? Have you been married for a long time? We're not here to discuss my 11 years, if my sources are correct. In love since childhood, they got married right after college. We were waiting for you to have children, and then little Ethan appeared. He's 9 now. This photo must have been taken a couple of years ago. How are you? He began. Do you know that your dear Cheryl has her own secrets? I continued. Maybe you know that when she says she's at Pilates class on Wednesday afternoon, and you're at work, she's actually at Motel 8 on Patterson having sex with her personal trainer. This is just funny, he stuttered, but I could see that he was not sure. He became very pale. Is it true? I said, taking out several photographs from the envelope. I laid them out one by one on his table. They showed a beautiful, slender woman entering a hotel room with a young, muscular man. He hugged her waist, and they looked at each other lovingly. I took out the DVD and put it on his desk, too. There's also footage from inside the room if you want real proof of what they were doing. It's pretty graphic, so if I were you, I wouldn't watch it. I made this mistake when I received the private investigator's report. These images will haunt me for the rest of my life. He looked like he was about to throw up. Oh, and one more thing, I said. Ethan. No, he said quietly. Please, God, no. I took the DNA report out of the envelope. It looks like the fitness instructor is not the first. I think he would be too young to be Ethan's father, but whoever the father is, it's not you, I said quietly. He got up and ran to the toilet, which, as I understood, was located next to his office. I heard him vomit noisily into the toilet. Now, do you understand? I asked him when he sat down in the chair again. Tears were streaming down his face. He looked at me with dead eyes. Now you understand what pain she caused me and why I should erase her from my life? He nodded weakly. Fine, I said. Now there's one more thing you should know. He looked at me with horror on his face. Something else? He asked plaintively. It's all fake, I answered. None of what I just showed you is true. As far as I know, your wife is as loving and faithful as you thought, and Ethan is your son. But photographs? He asked. Photoshop. It's amazing what you can do with a few Facebook posts and a little time and effort, I replied grimly. If you had them examined by anyone who was even remotely competent, they would tell you that they were all fakes. I took out a few more photographs from the envelope. But to prove it, here are the originals from which I created them. His face started to color, and I wondered if he was going to attack me. DVD? He asked. Empty? DNA report? This is actually a DNA report on my cheating wife's child. I just changed the names and dates. He sat stunned for several minutes as fresh tears began to stream down his face. Why did you do this? What do you think you could achieve by destroying my marriage and my life? He asked. That was not my intention. That's why I told you almost immediately that it was all fake. I didn't want any permanent harm to come to you or your family. I just wanted you to really understand for once the pain I went through, the feelings of loss, anger, and resentment. For a few minutes you experienced this, and I still experience it. Your short-term suffering is my life now and in the future. Forcing me to sit here with this woman, listening to her ramble on about how much she loves me and wants me back, means I have to keep going through this pain over and over and over again. There are laws regarding cruel and unusual punishment. Why are they not used in this case? I just want to move on with my life, try to collect what little I have left, and move on with my life. Why can't you and the court let me do this? I collected all the documents from the table and put them back in the envelope. I'll leave this for you to deal with, I said. I'm very sorry that I had to do this, but I need you to understand me. I left his office. Your Honor, I have a report of the court-ordered counseling sessions that my client was required to attend. My lawyer addressed the judge again. I have a copy, the judge growled. It appears that the counselor believes that even after 3 sessions out of the 8 ordered by the court, this marriage cannot be saved, and that for the well-being of all concerned, including the child, the best solution is to allow its dissolution. Yes, Your Honor. I request that you order that the divorce be finalized as petitioned. The judge looked at me for a long second. I looked straight ahead, not wanting to look him in the eye. It's decided, he said finally, banging the gavel. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one. Listening to the next one. Listening to the next